What's going on? Just beginning right now. This is absolutely, utterly bizarre. Let me explain myself to you guys. My name is Ryan Hoppe, and I have been in radio for 9 years. So I've always hidden behind the microphone. I worked in Cleveland for about 2 minutes and got laid off, quote unquote, laid off. You can Google that. And I have worked at 1025 The Bone for the last 6 years. I began in promotions, and then I've been a weekend on-air talent at 1025 The Bone in Tampa Bay. But here's why this is bizarre for me. I've had moments where I've gone on Sirius Radio. I met Opie, went on It's Eric Nagel. I have won Best Local Podcast twice in Tampa Bay, but I've always hidden behind a microphone. And my main podcast, Hoppe Radio, which is also Hoppe Hour, can be found on every single platform by searching Hoppe Radio. It's like a 1990s, 2000s radio show in a podcast form, and that's on all the platforms. So I'm used to hiding behind a microphone and not having my face seen. So now it's like I got to bring compelling content and manifest to the universe that people will pay $5 for it. So this is absolutely, utterly bizarre. First of all, I want to thank the No Filter Network for picking this show up. Hoppe Hour Live is going to be different than my other show where I play celebrity news clips. This is where it's just going to be me talking for 30 minutes to an hour, depending on my schedule. And I'm going to always say it like it is. I never hold back. Now, I'm not going to say offensive things that are going to get me canceled. And I never have to really worry about saying offensive things that are going to get me canceled because I'm not racist and I'm not a piece of dirt, so those thoughts never reach my head. But, for example, we're going to talk about Josh Duggar from 19 Kids and Counting and the fact that I think he should be locked up for the rest of his life and that we don't charge pedophiles hard enough. So those outrageous opinions will be spoken on here. But, I mean, you're never going to hear me say anything awful. So once again, thank you to the No Filter Network. I truly appreciate it. A quick little background about me, and this is going to be the only time I talk about myself on here. I'm from, let's say, Chicago, but it's 30 miles outside of it. I'm from Arlington Heights, Illinois, which is a quiet suburb outside of Chicago. I only really went to Chicago maybe 40 times in my life, and I lived there 21 years. Then I moved to Cleveland for about 4 months, and now I'm in Tampa. I grew up loving Chicago radio, grew up on Eddie and Jobo and B96, Mancow's Morning Madhouse on Q101, Howard, obviously, when he was on 105.9 in Chicago, Jonathan Brandmeier. So I've always been into that edgy talk radio, which is bizarre because millennials like TikTok, and I barely like TikTok. So I want to bring that energy of radio for the millennial generation. So once again, go to every major platform, search up Hoppe Radio, and then you can watch this for $5 per show. First, we're going to begin on Josh Duggar. Now, I don't feel bad for this family at all. The people who feel bad for the Duggars are the people who are very religious and fall for it. And here's what I'm saying. You know, because I grew up Roman Catholic, my mom's kind of like this, but not really. You know, we're like, you're really religious and you believe everything and like, you're very gullible. That's the fan base of 19 Kids and Counting. That's the fan base, Josh Duggar. Let me explain. 6 years ago, he was caught on Ashley Madison, that website where you would cheat on your wife for some reason. And I get that guys want to cheat on their wife, or wives want to cheat on their husband, or whatever you identify as. But I don't know why you would go on a website for cheating and think you're never going to get caught and that website would never get hacked. But that's a side note. So Josh Duggar, they had an email hack, and you could just type in emails and see if people were on it. And what was kind of fascinating about 2015 was, how do I word this? I'm not going to say much. Okay, there were people I knew who were on it, and they had their emails signed up, and I was like, ooh, but I didn't say anything. So Josh Duggar was on there. He cheated on his wife, on Ashley Madison. And then there were allegations that he, like, inappropriately touched people over the years, but his wife didn't leave him. And this is the same family. This is the same people that are so religious and they use the word Jesus like it's a crutch. they use the word Jesus like the amount of times we use the word the in a day. They could go Jesus, 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 all day long. And if they were really religious, and if they were really good people, she would have divorced him because he's a creep. If she was really that attentive of a wife, she would have known that he's a bad person because Josh Duggar got caught with the worst of child pornography, which I believe if you are a pedophile, I don't know if the death sentence is the correct answer, but we give them a slap on the wrist, they get 4 years in prison, and then they act up again, and then we go, why? Because sadly, that's what they're into, and there's no fixing it. And we don't want to think about it, but there's so many victims, and everybody suffers in the family, and they don't really contribute to this earth. So I think you should just have like a mental hospital for pedophiles, where maybe they can work there and pay rent or whatever, but there's no reason they should be out and about. Like on 54th Avenue in St. Pete, there's this thing called Pervert Park. It's like this trailer home of like pedophiles, I think, living off the government, which is great. And I drive by it and I just get immediately creeped out. And the thing that's fascinating about this place is it was on Netflix. And I watched the Netflix documentary about 4 years ago for about 3 minutes. And one of the pedophiles was trying to act like a victim. They're doing that old charade, that old thing where they go, oh, I was touched as a kid, blah, blah, blah. I had a hard childhood. Oprah had a hard childhood, and she came out fine. Keon Martin, the NBA player, had a hard childhood, and he was great in the NBA. Successful people make it happen. So I'm sick and tired of hearing these people go, oh, I had such a hard childhood. It just drives me nuts. Now, if you want to leave a comment with me, you can always email me, ryanhoppyradio@gmail.com, and you can email me. You can email me there and then tweet at me at ryanhoppyradio. Sorry, I'm just a little nervous. This is utterly bizarre for me. So, Josh Duggar is freed on bail for worst of the worst child porn charges and heads to family home where he'll spend 2 months with no access to Wi-Fi, which, wait, he's going to the family friend's house, not the family's house. But first of all, there's no reason he should be out and about. I get it's great and dandy that he doesn't have connections to Wi-Fi or the LTE service, but it's utterly ridiculous because it sets a precedent that millionaires can get away with whatever they want, which in reality, millionaires can get away with whatever they want. And a millionaire watching this might get offended and go, we don't get away with whatever we want. Maybe not tax evasion, but you guys literally can do whatever you want. If Josh Duggar was one of those creeps on 54th Avenue at Pervert Park, he would not be out. And shame on his wife for not divorcing him in 2015 when he got caught cheating. Shame on her. Oh, but God's forgiveness. You must have then been the most unattentive wife ever. And this has nothing to do with her being a female. If it was the situation was flipped, he'd be the most unattentive husband ever, or whatever you identify as. I'm just clearing it up. What I'm saying is, if you have no idea that your husband is a creep, then you guys shouldn't be married, because the whole point of being in a relationship is you know that person better than anybody knows them. Like, my girlfriend knows me better than anybody has ever known me, besides maybe my mom. And I know my girlfriend in ways, and this has nothing to do with sex, but I know things about her just personality-wise that other people couldn't pick up on. So, like, for example, if she's annoyed, she doesn't make much emotion on her face, and I go, babe, what's wrong? Or if she's in a good mood, she'll be like playing with the cats or cooking dinner. So what I'm saying is there's social cues that I can pick up on. And if you're watching this and you're in a relationship, there's social cues of your significant other, or if you're single in the past. So that shows how horrendous of a relationship the Duggars must have been in if they were not able to pick up on this. And then literally their dad's name is Jim Bob. So anybody whose name is Jim Bob, I don't want you anywhere near me. Josh Duggar said nothing as he was released from the Washington County Detention Center in Fayetteville, Arkansas. He will now spend the next 2 months in a home detention center with family friends. I wonder what that's like when he just walks in and like he's international name who has literally watched the worst of the worst child porn. the worst of the worst, a scumbag who, if there is an afterlife, will burn in hell. And I wonder what that's like when he walks in and he's just like, oh, what's for dinner? Because I don't see that guy really having any sorrow. In his mugshot, he was smiling like it was funny. So I don't know. Josh Duggar, best known for being a part of his family reality show, 19 Kids and Counting, won't be allowed to return home to the pregnant wife and their kids. Which, first of all, she's having her 7th kid. So this dude literally does not know the basic skill that every man should know, which is the pull-out method. Literally, you have to be the biggest chump if you don't know the pull-out method. And some people are like, oh, but it feels so good. It was so hard to pull out. Oh, does having a kid for 18 years sound fun? Like, whenever I'm getting laid and I'm even beginning to feel the glory, I go, okay, abort, time to get, that's probably the wrong word to use, but I'm like, time to get out, bye. So literally when these like professional athletes or Josh Duggar and they're about to have 7 to 1 million kids, it's like, does it really need to feel that good? Because I don't want to use the word consequence to having a kid, but the aftermath is going to be a kid crying and then hating you from the age of 12 to 20 and then taking care of you when you're about to die in a nursing home. Like, can't you just pull out? I don't know. The authorities revealed he kept a sickening trove of underage porn. He will be electronically monitored and must remain with the Reavers until his trial on July 6th. He spent 7 nights in jail before he was released at 2:30 local time. And I bet they had to keep him in a cell where he was near absolutely, positively nobody. Because I've never been there, but you know that they're like saying that pedophiles don't do well in prison. And I never know because like you always read on social media, whenever it's like Josh Duggar going to jail or Derek Chauvin going to jail, any of those really bad people, like a bad cop or a pedophile or a wife beater, you always read the comments in the Facebook section where they're like, oh, they're going to get killed in the shower or they're going to get special treatment from Bubba. No. Derek Chauvin is currently in solitary confinement. Now, granted, I think he would probably rather have a roommate, but this whole idea that this population on this planet of Earth, to think that Derek Chauvin's just going to get killed in prison or Josh Duggar, it's like, no, they're protected because they're millionaires. They're the elite. And even if you're an everyday average Joe, let's say pedophile or wife beater who's in prison and you get into a fight, from what I've read on Reddit, when I've read things about this, you're pretty much put in a cell by yourself because they can't have the commotion. So I just get really sick and tired of seeing that idea that, oh, they're going to get the treatment in jail. What? Their own lunch? Their own dinner? If you go to Inside Edition and you look at one of the reports from this week, Derek Chauvin's being given a better breakfast than I was ever given in school. So just the fake news of the common everyday average Joe and Jane, who I record this show for, but the common knowledge, the common idea that these people they're gonna get it. And then they use the example, well, what about Jeffrey Dahmer when he was praying in that little church area of prison and he got killed? Yes, I think we've learned from that because that was 27 to 30 years ago, and nobody has really died in jail since then. They all kind of die of old age, even if they're on the death penalty. So I don't know. It makes me so mad because I always see that everywhere. Also in the news here, speaking of people that creep me out, Floyd Mayweather. So this is breaking news. He got into a physical altercation with Jake Paul, which, first of all, before I get into this, I think Jake Paul is brilliant. He's a complete troll. He's a complete asswipe. He's not likable. I wouldn't want to be friends with him, but I completely respect how he's the heel of like social media and he's the enemy. Because all the Gen Zs, I sound like an old man, all the millennials, and even the Gen Xers that are jealous of his money and the women he bangs and the nice house and car he has, they all have this attitude, F Jake Paul, F Jake Paul. But he lives for that. He's making money off of that. So most of the time that Jake Paul is getting into altercations and pissing people off, I'm a big fan of it. But this altercation that he got into with Floyd Mayweather, if I were Jake Paul, I would not want to piss off Floyd Mayweather. I know Jake Paul's got endorphins because he's boxing every day, and he's Jake Paul, and he's probably got the millionaire endorphins of just life is great. But maybe you don't need to feel yourself as much when you're pissing off Floyd Mayweather, an undefeated. Now, granted, the guy dances and doesn't always perform as a boxer and is more of a self-defender. Do I want to get into a ring with him? No. But is he like Mike Tyson or Muhammad Ali? Not as much, but you can't take away from Floyd Mayweather that he's undefeated. And Floyd Mayweather has had a lot of issues outside of the ring. So if I'm Jake Paul, I'm not wanting to piss him off at all. I'm just saying. Okay, this is how they worded on TMZ. Whoa, things got very physical between Floyd Mayweather and Jake Paul during a confrontation after the face-off between Floyd and Logan. Jake got in Floyd's face while Floyd was doing an interview and snatched the baseball cap off of Floyd's head. Things went berserk from there, and it appeared as though punches were thrown. Hard to see who threw the shots and if anything landed. You could see Jake's shirt was ripped and completely ruined after the melee. Yeah, that's what he's going to do to you, Jake. He completely ripped the shirt. It's very hard to rip a shirt. So imagine that being your body, especially when you have a narcissist like Jake Paul going up against an insane, not great person, sociopath known as Floyd Mayweather. Things are going to happen like your shirt getting ripped. At one point, Floyd Mayweather shouted, "I will kill you, mother effer." And this isn't like when somebody gets into a fight at a bar and they're getting mad and they're like, "That guy looked at my girl. I'm going to kill you, mother effer." No. I'm not saying Floyd will literally end Jake Paul's life, but he will beat his ass. Because when Floyd Mayweather, an undefeated fighter, one of the greatest ever, says, "I'll kill you, mother effer," and that guy is someone you don't want to piss off, he's a man of his words. Like, he might not put you 6 feet into the ground, but he will beat you. Logan responded, "The only thing that's fake on this platform is Floyd's effing hairline." And that's the thing, too, with the Paul brothers, is they're great trolls. They're good social media influencers and talents. You can't deny that. But some of their comebacks, it's like, yeah, Floyd's got a bad hairline, but he's also undefeated, and he's also worth a lot of money. You know what I mean? Like, I love when people are like, LeBron James has a weird hairline. LeBron James is going bald. He's also a top 5 basketball player of all time. He's not Michael Jordan because he lost in the 2011 finals to the Dallas Mavericks. Never forget. Dirk Nowitzki just going crazy. But LeBron James is top 5 of all time. Floyd Mayweather is one of the best of all time. So I love when these losers go, "Oh, they got a weird hairline." Whatever. And here's some breaking news from it that broke 2 hours ago. And this is from TMZ. And quote, "Surprise, surprise, the event is running behind schedule. But don't worry, we're told it's going to go down shortly." Okay. There you go. This following segment, we're not having music in the background to read a live read. This following segment's been brought to you by a few of my sponsors. First of all, FitSageFitness.com, the best workout trainer in all of the Bay Area. But if you don't live in the Bay Area, add them on social media at fit_sage_fitness and go to FitSageFitness.com to do virtual workouts. This show's official main sponsor is West Chase Printing by DJ Tone Tampa on all social media. Go to westchaseprinting.com for all your printing needs. And they're going to give you a great deal anyway on that invoice. Like, it's going to be a marvelous deal. But when you tell him that you heard about it on the No Filter network with Hoppe Hour Live, he will hook you up with an even greater deal. So, like, if you had not heard about it prior, West Chase Printing would have given you a great deal, but he will give you a marvelous deal if you name drop me. It's also being brought to you by Amir Academy of Martial Arts at amiracademy.com and the Tampa Bay Hot Sauce Company. Here's another headline. I have about 10 minutes here. Bill Gates divorce. Melinda now sipping on $25 million share of Coke. No, not cocaine. That would be Bill Gates, allegedly. I'm just kidding. He doesn't seem like a guy that would touch any drugs. He's very sober and creepy. Not that it's bad to be sober, but he seems like a dry drunk. Bill and Melinda Gates are shifting more of their fortune into Melinda's name. And new documents show she's going to be a big fan of Mexican Coca-Cola. Here's what TMZ knows. The day after Melinda filed her divorce documents, the couple that's now broken up filed docs with the Security Commission that shows she now owns more than 5% of Coca-Cola. She acquired 25 million shares of the Coke bottler, which is based in Mexico, and Bill has 0 shares. These shares could be valued at about $120 million. And it's weird. Like, I never feel bad for celebrities when they get a divorce. But, like, you look at the Kim and Kanye one, and you kind of feel bad for Kanye. Maybe because I've been a fan for my whole life, essentially, half my life. But you go, man, that guy's going to lose his mind because not a lot of girls are going to want to hook up with him because they're going to see how crazy he is. And Kim can get whatever she wants. But let me tell you, I've never been a fan of Bill Gates. I don't know what it is. It's not the conspiracy theory thing where Alex Jones will be like, he's got microchips in you after he turned the frogs gay. Infowars.com. Like, I've never hated Bill Gates because I believe the conspiracy theories, but he just creeps me out. There's something about him because I was born in 93, so my whole life I've heard about Bill Gates. And even as a little kid, I wasn't like, oh my God, Bill Gates, so cool. So you have that divorce going on. This next headline, I was not surprised about. You ready for this? I don't think you're going to be surprised either. Chris Brown had a massive birthday party that was broken up by the LAPD. Chris Brown, to me, could have been, and people that aren't in my age group are not going to agree, he could have been the Weeknd of my generation. He could have been the Michael Jackson of my generation. He had so many hits from 2005 to about 2009. Then he beat up Rihanna. And then for some reason, it was very 2010 of us to forgive him. And then he made new music in 2011 and he kept acting up. And it's like Chris Brown doesn't realize that he can rap, he can sing, he can dance, and he appeared likable, but he's such a piece of crap that he ruined everything. Yeah, he's making millions, but he's irrelevant unless you listen to the latest Chris Brown. Like, he's not getting any airplay. Yeah, he's getting millions of listens whenever he releases new music. And I feel creeped out because I love Chris Brown's music. I just wouldn't want to hang out with him. All right. Chris Brown threw an enormous party to celebrate his birthday, but things got so out of hand, cops had to pull the plug. Law enforcement sources tell TMZ that the LAPD picked up multiple calls about loud music and cars double parked all over the neighborhood in the San Fernando Valley. He turned 32 on Cinco de Mayo, but neighbors apparently reached the boiling point in the wee hours of the morning. TMZ was told cops showed up to the crib Thursday around 2 a.m. and talked to his security. One sources say the music was turned down, but that also was only at the end of the gig. And now, I've never been a Karen where I've been like, oh, there's a party, blah, blah, blah. How dare you? I wear my mask in public. I got COVID allegedly from a coworker in November. It was horrendous. I believe it's real. So I'm not going to complain when I say he had 400 to 500 people in attendance. But that's literally a sociopath. In the middle of a pandemic, it'd be okay to have 50 people, I guess. But I don't think one of them got the vaccine. I'm going to go on a limb here and say that I don't think any of them got the vaccine. So Chris Brown's in a little bit of trouble. He also punched that paparazzi in Tampa Bay after he performed in like 2018 or 2017. Like, it just seems like and then he had the cops outside of his house on Facebook Live like 4 years ago. He had that fit on Good Morning America when they asked him about Rihanna. It's like, if he was likable, he literally could have been the greatest of all time. But because he's such a piece of crap, that shows that even though he has all the talent in the world, he's not that talented. One of the things you have to do when you're famous, from what I've seen, is you got to put on a persona, and you got to at least be likable enough. Like, would I want to hang out with Bieber? No. But all the trouble he's caused was a DUI and him pissing in a mop bucket. You know what I mean? Like, contain yourself. Don't be an imbecile. But I sincerely think that Chris Brown should be locked up in a mental hospital. I sincerely am a man of my words when I say, if it wasn't for his amazing talent, he would, I don't even know. He would be in a mental hospital. The guy is completely out of his mind. So also in the news here, I got 4 minutes left. Meghan Markle and Prince Harry call for vaccine giveaway. Couple write open letter to CEOs of Pfizer, AZ, and Moderna demanding they share jab patent with poor countries and celebrate Archie's second birthday by $5 donations to a vaccine fund. That's great and all. It's a good idea. But let me read this here. Like, they did a good job, Moderna, Pfizer, and AZ, of pumping out this vaccine. I don't know if I want to get it, but they did a good job of pumping it out. But I don't think they're just going to want to give it away for free, because they're also a company at the same time. And I don't see them going, oh my God, we were not going to give it out for free. But because Meghan Markle, that annoying person that always needs attention, because she wants us to give out the vaccines, we're going to do it for her, because she's such an important person to us. And that's how out of touch and how clueless Meghan Markle is, because she has no idea that she doesn't matter that much. And I think that's what happens when you drink the Kool-Aid of the royal family, is you literally think you're that important. And I think Prince Harry brought that on her, because she was never like this when she was on the show Suits, or she was on Deal or No Deal. Nobody cared about her. But then all of a sudden she starts banging Prince Harry and gets married to him. The same Prince Harry, where she was like, I had no idea who he was before then. Well, maybe that's why you weren't famous, is because you weren't up to date with the royal family. Like them or hate them, if you have no idea who they are, you should not be famous. But that's a lie, because nobody doesn't not know who they are. And that's just the fact that she was probably with him because she needed a way to get famous, because she wasn't famous enough. Alrighty. A woman uploads a TikTok of Matthew Perry flirting with her after matching on a dating app. And I got to imagine it's got to be weird for Matthew Perry to be on dating apps, because, like, he doesn't look great. He's alive, but he doesn't remember filming most of Friends. So I feel like it's got to be awkward for him to be on it. He's also in his 50s. And finally, NFL Insider shares what the Packers could fetch in an Aaron Rodgers trade. And I don't even need to read this for info, because he might be going to the Broncos, the Raiders, or the 49ers. But the 49ers may be removed after they went and got Trey Lance with the 3rd overall pick. Here's my thing about Aaron Rodgers before I get out of here. I love how the media and the everyday NFL fan is confused that he's doing this. I love how the everyday NFL fan is like, why is he throwing his front office under the bus after 15 years? First of all, we're in an era where there's super teams and you want to win now. So you have Terry Bradshaw going, he's not loyal. Terry, if you were playing in the current day, you would go to the best super team ever. You were lucky that Pittsburgh won 4 Super Bowls. Like, you were a good quarterback. I wasn't alive. But at the same time, when all those boomers, and I'm not going on an okay boomer rant, but when all those boomers are like, how could they leave their team? Because it's a new era. But back to my point, I'm always surprised when people are like, how could Aaron Rodgers do this? How could he not be loyal? How could he throw his front office under the bus? How could he go through coach after coach? We are talking about a man who doesn't talk to his family. We are talking about a guy, now granted, it's okay to have different girlfriends, but we're talking about a guy who, whenever he breaks up with a girl, like the one girl that talked about him having a small penis on Jimmy Kimmel Live, or Danica Patrick, whenever he breaks up with them, not a good breakup, it's a bad breakup. And he also doesn't talk to his family. So this is a guy with a bad character who's probably got a personality issue. I don't know if he's a sociopath, but there's definitely something wrong with him. So, like, it's great and dandy for him to be the golden child of the NFL because he's amazing to watch and so damn good. But don't lie to yourself and ignore and go, no, he's a good person, because he's not. This has been Hoppe Hour Live. I appreciate everybody that paid for this. Now, I do an audio podcast, which can be on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, Breaker, Amazon Music, Audible, Mixcloud by searching up Hoppe Radio, Hoppe Radio. But here's the thing, because I was talking to Eric Nagel, who used to produce Opie and Anthony, and I interviewed him, and he said I spread myself thin and I do a lot. So go to RyanHoppeRadio.com, and it has the links to all the apps I'm on, has the links to all the sponsors I have, and much, much more. I hope me leaning back didn't cause it to get quiet, but I'm just getting used to this. I'm sure there might be a few technical difficulties, but RyanHoppeRadio.com, and add me on social media and let me know what you think. This has been Hoppe Hour Live. I am signing off. I will be back next week. Bye.